and coal don't seem to sit very well together. So there's quite a lot of controversy about coal. And I'm sure in Indonesia you have your own issues that we don't necessarily address in Australia. So I was wondering what to do, and I thought, well, COP26 was just the last few weeks. And yesterday we saw the headlines that there's been a climate compromise or a climate deal with a coal compromise. So despite the fact that at a global level, they want to sort of reduce or even eliminate coal from production, we're going to continue with coal, but at a lesser degree. And when you think about it, those sorts of controversies and compromises are written all over our lives. Wherever we are, there were always competing worlds, whether it's production, whether it's something like tourism versus nature, whether it's nature versus jobs, whether it's in maybe forests for timber versus the natural world, whether it's how workers and business come together, say with trade unions and enterprise bargains. At some point, we are always have a natural order, a social order that is based on some type of compromise. And often those compromises work very well until there's a crisis or a disaster. And what they tend to do is it allows societies to challenge some of the assumptions that we've used to build those compromises, and that can lead to change, maybe for the good, maybe not so good. And I guess COVID-19, and I'm sure it's hit Indonesia just the same as Australia, it has profoundly changed the way that we live. And I mean, obviously I can't travel to Indonesia, you can't travel here. And so it's made us really challenge what we think about being, in Australia, about being a nation. We've closed our borders. I think we're one of the countries that has closed their borders quite strictly. So we're no longer this sort of global, we're no longer global citizens, become very national citizens. But quite often these tensions exist between social objectives and environmental objectives. But we live with these compromises, and we live with them through certain mechanisms like contract, whether it's an enterprise bargain, which is a written contract, or whether it's something not so tangible like the social contract. And you would be familiar with, say, when we're talking about corporate social responsibility, we talk a lot about legitimacy, corporate legitimacy, legitimacy theory. That's all based on this idea that there is a social contract that exists where society and business, you do something for me and I do something for you, and we're prepared for that compromise. Ultimately, we live in a world of abundant resources, and we live in a world of very smart technology on one hand, but on the other hand, we've got this looming business or the looming threat of climate change. It's not so much climate change, but the impacts of climate change. Oh, so here it is, big switch, coal down, but not out. So I think when they went to COP26, they wanted to reduce or eliminate coal by 2050, 2030, depending on which country you were talking about. However, they have come up with a compromise. Coal is here to stay. Maybe good for Australia, but maybe not for other places. So one of the ways that I found interesting is a theoretical framework, the sociology of worth. And when I was introduced to the sociology of worth, I thought there were several things that were interesting. One of them was that it didn't say that economics was bad. It didn't say that market economics was bad. It didn't say that the industry was bad. It didn't say that all of the institutions that we have, social institutions, have their own sort of unique set of principles. And what happens in a disputed situation is that we fall back on those to reach the compromise. So the sociology of worth is based on some what they call generalised logics, which are competing rationales. Now, I was in a session just recently, in the last session, and one of the girls, the presenters there, was talking about the role of religion. And I immediately thought, aha, this would fit into the sociology of worth, because there is a space for things like religion, for the environment, all to be disclosed when we're looking at how we can look at disputes. So if I just bring it to the next slide, it's very complicated. And there are a lot more of these orders of worth down the side on this axis here. But Boltanski and Thevenot originally designed this theoretical framework when they were looking at a French dispute over a highway that was being built. And on one side, they had the needs of the community for a highway. You know, we need that to transport goods, to transport people. It was going to be very beneficial. But of course, they were going to destroy part of the natural environment. So they came up with a way that they could somehow accommodate different people's worldviews or views about a certain situation and bring to that a compromise where everybody felt that they could be satisfied. So they came up with these orders of worth, which a higher common principle is a generalised state of worthiness. In other words, if the resulting compromise is satisfactory, then you've reached your higher common principle. Now, you'll notice, for example, the higher common principle for the market is competition. And markets work on competition. Monopolistic markets don't work that well in terms of a market economy. If we look at something like a fame, its public opinion is seen as the higher common principle. In the green world or the seventh world, it's greenness or that idea of being natural. If we look down this side here, we have, well, how are we going to evaluate or how are we going to know if we've reached a state of worthiness? For the market, it's a price. And remember, a price is that which has buyers and sellers, and it's that which allocates resources justly according to a market perspective. In an industrial sense, it might be productivity or efficiency, for example. A test is, how do we know? What can we use to see if this is actually what we would consider an appropriate state of worth? So we have the ability to complete deals and transactions and contracts. We'd have to have a law of some sort of property rights, for example, that underpinned what we would be considered a test of worth. In the domestic worth, this is about whether family ceremonies, social events would be able to continue. This is probably, I think, in the Indonesian context, more applicable than it is in the Australian context. We have the proof. So proofs in the market, for example, a monetary value a cost-benefit analysis based on payback. I won't go into all of these because it's very complicated, but I'm just going to give you a flavour of it. Qualified subjects are those who we listen to if they give their evidence. So, for example, in the market, it's competitors and clients and buyers are those who are qualified to assess whether this market worth is being established. And then we have the objects or the mechanisms or the trappings of those different worths. So wealth, for example, if you have wealth in a market economy, it means that you've been successful. In other words, a deficient state would be that you were poor in a market system. But what I particularly like about the sociology of worth doesn't say that wealth is everything. You can be successful and it doesn't have to mean you're wealthy. So in an inspired sense, which embodies this idea of religion, where you have this sense of spiritual worth or sense of a higher calling, it's about being emotionally invested. It's about being allowed to express yourself inspirationally. In a green sense, it's having something like pristine wilderness would be the pinnacle of a worthy world. And then there's a time formation. So each of these worths has a different trajectory. So, for example, sustainability, and this is the green world, very much focuses on future generations. What's happening now is only ever going to be, we know whether it's worked in the future. So you can see just from some of my examples how something like a COP26 negotiations could fit very neatly into this theoretical framework. And it would help to sort out the different arguments that people bring to something like COP26 from different perspectives. I'm just a little conscious of the time here. Okay, it's fine. So I just chose two artifacts, one from the newspaper and one from, there's an academic online newspaper called The Conversation that's written by academics. So I just chose two of those, and I thought I'd try and map some of the dialogue to a sociology of worth to give you a flavour of how this might be useful in sustainability studies. So I chose the civic and the industrial because it seemed to fit the easiest for me the other day. And so the higher common principle, the civic world is to do with the government. It's to do with civil rights. It's to do with whatever is seen in your context to be equity and equal rights to participation, etc. And it's going to be different for different countries, different regions. So the higher common principle here, according to a civic worth, would be that there's a global response to reduce climate change. And if that happens, we're all going to benefit from that eventually. From an industrial perspective, it would be if we could grow our income and reduce climate change at the same time. So while they're both heading towards mitigating climate change, they see it from a slightly different perspective, but that's okay, and we'll move on. The mode of evaluation, well, it's going to be if there's a national commitment. This is to do with COP26 and climate change. Whereas for an industrial world, the mode of evaluation is going to be households and the economy. Will there be an increase in GDP if we reduce carbon emissions? And we'll be able to evaluate that if the cost to household and the economy is greater than the benefit based on reducing carbon emissions. One of the tests will be whether the pledges, there's two sort of basic pledges that they went into with COP26, was to cut methane gas and phase out coal-fired power. If these pledges are honoured, then we've satisfied that civic worth or civic, or we've justified that we've done the right thing according to a civic worth. And according to an industrial worth, one of the tests would be if we've developed hydrogen technologies. I probably need to explain that in Australia, we're fairly reluctant to give up coal because we don't have a viable alternative. Hydrogen's being now being mooted as the way to go. So from an industrial world, developing hydrogen technologies to replace carbon or coal. How are we going to do this? Well, we've got what do we use as proof? Well, in this case, it's the scientific agreements that there is climate change, and if it's over 2 degrees, then it's going to be disastrous. The proof whether we've reached income growth will be things like interest rates, GDPs, and household debt. Who was qualified? Well, if you saw the COP26, the Prime Minister of Barbados said, you know, that climate change is a death sentence for small island developing nations. And she was qualified to speak because she is representing the civic or the national interest for Barbados. In the industrial, it's the Australian government, it's their economic modelling, the independent reports that they get about moving from coal to hydrogen power, for example. The objects are the agreements and the modelling that predicts the zero plan by 2050 can lift national income. The time formation, well, we want to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees. Once again, phasing out coal and replacing it by 2050 would be how we would be able to judge the time it would take to reach a state of industrial worth. So they're actually different types of time based on different agreements. The industrial is always medium term. The civic is medium to long term. And what would it mean to be small or deficient? What would be an indication that the civic worth has not been established or justified, or the compromise that we've reached between not only these two, but all 7? How would we know if we've reached a compromise that everybody can be satisfied? Well, there would be a lack of signature to the agreements. For the industrial worth, it would be not lowering emissions by 35%. So what does this have to do with accounting and accountability, I can hear you all say. And many years ago, and this was before your colleagues, or maybe while your colleagues were at Wollongong, and if they would have heard Professor Gaffigan talking a lot about the critical theory and critical approaches to accounting. And they said there are an infinite number of human needs, and it follows that accounting will inevitably be positively aligned with certain interests, and accounting always ought to be contestable in terms of the interest that it discounts and impedes. So from where I am at Wollongong, we have a strong qualitative methods school, and we often take interdisciplinary approaches. Many of us use critical theory to investigate the social world. And we don't see accounting as being neutral. We see it as being something that aligns with certain interests, that the situation or the context impacts the way that we do accounting, and how we represent the world through accounting also influences strongly the decisions that are made. So how is accounting implicated? Well, for example, in that market world that I talked about, financial statements are the accounts that we use. We use them for transparency. We use them for decision-making by financial decision makers. And so they are very prized accounts in that world. In the industrial world, for example, the prized accounts we have are things like budgets, variance analysis, accounts that tell us about efficiency, about goals, about long-term or medium-term goals of an organisation. In an inspired world is that, this is us reaching some sort of higher goal, for want of a better word. It might be poetry, it might be songs, it might be folk songs that lift you to that place of community. So in the green world, it might be corporate social responsibility reporting are the accounts that we use to test or justify how we come together when we have a conflict. And one thing I liked about the SAL framework, it doesn't rely on a general theory of ethics, and it also doesn't rely on this idea that we're all competing. It's not an arena, it's not a battle. It's a place that we can say there's lots of, 7 aspects that we need to consider when we're making decisions. And if we can frame our questions and frame our research this way, then maybe we can come up with compromises that will satisfy all 7 at some point. So I don't know whether you've heard of Schweiker, that he talked about a moral accountability. And he said a moral accountability is multidimensional. It's different for different people or different stakeholders. He also says that we've got to be able to understand how it's relevant to us living in this world. And we're all different. We all have different expectations, different social contexts. And so a moral accountability would explain to us or give us some idea of understanding the world that we live in. So I thought I'd also give an unashamed, what would you call it, advertisement. I have a special issue of a journal, Social Environmental Accountability Journal, and it's Accounting in Competing Worlds, and the deadline for submission is January the 31st. And we're calling for papers across a range of topics. It doesn't have to be coal, climate change. It could be teaching. How do we teach? How do we teach our students to appreciate a multitude of a multi-dimensional approach to accounting? And how do we just take them away from from financial accounting? So, are there any questions?
Okay, is that all, your presentation?
That's it, yep. So
okay, thank you very much then.
Okay, so, thank you.
So I think the QA session will be in the end. So I will ask the second speakers to Nadia.
Okay.
Dr. Nadia.
Okay.
Are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Professor.
Okay,
thank you.
Okay. Lily, could you close the share screen, please?
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Nadia, the time is yours.
Okay.
Up to 8:45. Is it enough for you? Sorry, 3:45.
Yeah, I think it's fine. It's enough. Okay. I think maybe less than that.
Okay then.
Okay.
Okay, the time is yours.
Thank you, Professor. Okay, let me prepare this first. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Professor Lee. Good afternoon, Professor Basuki. Thank you for the organizing committee to let me present or share my a little bit on opinion on sustainability issues. Okay, so actually my presentation will be about the value co-creation for sustainability. And why I came up with this topic is that when I read the news article from Adams in 2021, and it's about the harmonization of sustainability reporting, because as we know, we have like 5 bodies that has the sustainability reporting standards like CDP, CDSB, and then GRI and SASB, like the Professor Jeffrey before, and also IIRC, integrated reporting. They have like the statement to work together, and they talk about how the harmonization for different reporting standard become one later. But I think still in working in progress, because the statement of working together was published, I think, last year in 2020. So in the face of this pandemic, that's why I come up with this topic. But they talk also about the value creation for the enterprise value creation. And then when I read the statement, and it said about the enterprise economic value creation, but in here, what I want to talk about is more than just economic value creation. It's about the sustainable value creation. That's why I come up with this topic. And then when I also search for the related about the sustainability and COVID, there are 3 studies that has the empirical studies, because the other papers, they mostly talk about like the theoretical framework or the idea how this COVID and sustainability relationship and out. And from these 3 empirical studies, for the first one, Palma and Ruiz, in 2020, they study samples from the Spain, from the company, 35 companies in Spain, that those companies that made donations for the COVID-19 crisis index. And then for the second studies from Xiaomi in 2021, almost the same result actually here. The company that concerned more about the social criterion and environmental criterion has relatively well doing their business in this crisis. And then from the last studies from Li and Lu in 2020, they conduct study in Taiwan. They found that CSR companies were less affected by the outbreak, and then the stock price were also relatively resistant to the fall, and they recovered faster compared to those companies that don't concern about the CSR during this pandemic. So from these 3 research, we can see that actually those companies who concern more about the ESG, or especially about the sustainability, has better performance than those companies that not. And then that's why here, and also comes from the Deloitte report published in April 2021. It is Deloitte Southeast Asia actually. The topic of sustainable value creation is increasingly positioned at the top of the board agendas and become the central to corporate competitiveness and an organization's continued ability to operate. That's why if the company, from this report, we can see that the company that want to survive during this pandemic, you should have give more than just your financial performance, but what you can give to the society to ESG performance, I mean, through ESG activities also. So this concept have become ever more salient with the spread of the global COVID-19 pandemic, which has made the interrelationship between companies, communities, employees, customers, and other stakeholders glaringly clear. So it must have the collaboration, interrelationship, and working together between companies and all their stakeholders, not only companies itself, not only what company can give to the stakeholder or to the society or the community, but what can we do it together to improve our quality of life, especially this during the pandemic, something like that. Therefore, I want to a little bit talk about this service dominant logic. I'm not sure how many of you have ever heard about this service dominant logic. Anyone of you ever heard about this one? Okay. Yeah, maybe because this is not in the base for this service dominant logic is not in accounting actually. This is from the marketing thought. Because my PhD degree, I'm more in the strategic one. That's why I also use this service dominant logic to do my dissertation. And this service dominant logic is come from Fargo and Last in 2004. This is actually from marketing thought that a little bit further away from goods dominant logic. So if we heard about service, what we think is always like intangible goods, right? Service is always intangible, but in here, based on service dominant logic, it's not about the output. It's not about like goods and service. It's not like that. The service in here they talk about is that the process of exchange of something. The main is the process of exchange. So here's as the logic view service as a process, a standalone variable, and a primary focus of exchange. It is service, not services. So we cannot call it here. If we talk about SD logic, we cannot say services. We just call it service because the main idea that this is the process of we exchange something. So it must be between actor to actor. So we cannot say that the company gives something to the customer. It means that A gives something to the B. It's not like that. But when we want to do the service exchange, should be between both A and B. We exchange some things, we integrate some things, we do some collaboration, and then we can have some value in there. Value can be created to our collaboration. This is what they talk about. That's why actually this SD logic still evolving from 2004 until now, because in the beginning they have the 11 fundamental premise and now become 5 axioms, but still the other premise is still there, but they focus more in the 5 axioms like here. For the first one is service is the fundamental basis of exchange. And then the second one, value is co-created by multiple actors, always including the beneficiary. It means that all the actors that involved in this exchange should have, each of them should have the beneficiary bit from this exchange. And then all social and economic actors are resource integrators. For example, in here, for example, me as a lecturer, I give something to my students, right? I have the resource, maybe my knowledge, and the students also they have their own resource, maybe their knowledge or their willingness to study. When we exchange these together, the resource is integrating together, then the value will be there. This is what we call it a co-created value. And also value is always uniquely and phenomenologically determined by the beneficiary. And the last one is value co-creation is coordinated through actor-generated institution and institutional arrangement. In here, if you see the institution, it doesn't mean the organization, okay? Institution in here, like more than that, it can be the norm, can be the law, can be the rules, or also informal norms, something like that. That's the institutions. And the institutional arrangement is the combination between those institutions. So it must have the institution to make this exchange happen. So here, the narrative process of the SD logic, as we can see here, there are main actors that involve, cannot be only one, but actors. And then there must be the resource integration between those actors, what we have from me and from you, what can be integrated together, the resource. And then the service exchange, what we exchange during this process. And then here, institution and institutional arrangement always there. Something like what we want to do always, we remember about the rule, the law, right? Something what we can do and what we cannot do during the process. This is the institution and institutional arrangements. And then the last one is service ecosystem. This is the ecosystem that the service happen. So from this idea, and then I come up, okay, what if we co-create the sustainability value? not only value, economic value, but more the sustainable value. So here, actually, the idea is also from Fargo and Last in 2017. They published a paper about what will be the SD logic in 2025. And one of the discussion in their paper is that they call for research that that related with sustainability. So SD logic can be used to explain the sustainability phenomenon. Because actually this SD logic has been implemented in several different fields, such as like information system, and then education, and tourism, hospitality, and many others disciplines. So here, the sustainability can also use this SD logic to explain how we can create the sustainable value. So here, sustainable value co-creations involve all company stakeholders. For sustainability, resource integration process mainly from technological and intellectual resources. Why? Because as we know nowadays, now we are in the industrial revolution 4.0, which is only all the things based on the technology. That's why companies cannot separate it with the technology, and also the intellectual, it is what we do should be there, our intellectual, to conduct all the business. So that's why the resources can be the technological resources and intellectual resources. This is also proved by the research from Brozovic in 2020. So actually, this is the idea how we can create the sustainable value based on SD logic. So this in here, all the stakeholders should be involved, not only with the customer, but also maybe the employee as well. Employee and then customer, we work together, and also with the community that develop the sustainable value, like for example, like the social things, something like that, or environment, how we can preserve our environment together, not only from the companies, but how the community also like save our environment. So we need to work together in here. And then the resource here, what I mentioned before, is about technological and intellectual resources, and the collaboration, the service exchange will be the collaboration between the company and the stakeholders to achieve this. And then for the institution or an institutional arrangement can be the sustainability reporting standards, or maybe the other laws that related with the sustainability. It can be the institutional arrangement for these sustainable value co-creations. And also after that, then we can have the sustainable service ecosystem in here. And as I search here, actually, from the Brozovic research, they find that firms refer to the elements of SD logic in describing their action towards sustainability and offer fresh insight into how actors are involved in the achievement of sustainability-oriented goals through a resource integration process. So that's why what I mentioned before in here, company cannot do alone. Companies need to together with all the stakeholders, especially with the community, customer, and also employee, and maybe all supplier or distributors and else. So inspired by a vision of the future and the chance to preserve, the chance to create value for future generation. Yeah, actually, I also tried, before I make this presentation, I also tried to search some of the sustainability report from the companies in Indonesia, whether they do actually collaborate or not with their stakeholders. And what I saw is that, yeah, they do collaborate. For example, like one of the bank in Indonesia, in their sustainability report, they mentioned that we collaborate with the stakeholder, especially the customer, on what the things that should we put in our sustainability report. Yeah, I think so far only up to there they do collaboration with their customer, but I think it must be better if they can do more than just collaborate in deciding what they should put in their sustainability report. But they can actually do really some activities, ESG activities that related with, together with their customer. So also here, from the McKinsey survey in 2021, they do survey about the value creating companies. And here they found that value creating companies are more apt to engage customer and business partners in their sustainability agendas. They do collaborate with customer and supplier on addressing the sustainability issue. Actually, here we can see, right? Actually, we are going there. We work together with our stakeholders to create this sustainable value. So, in my conclusion is that actually this SG logic can be a theoretical base for sustainable value creation, or if you want to conduct a research, I think can be done here. And also in practice, like what I mentioned before, actually from started to collaboration to create together the value, but maybe they just don't realize the importance of collaboration with their stakeholder. And then future research has broad opportunity here. What we can do for the future research, actually here, this is the implication for qualitative research. Actually, you can do more like examining the report, sustainability report, like do content analysis to see whether they really do this value co-creation with the stakeholders or not, or you can do like in-depth interview or case study to see whether it is there or not. I think that's the opportunity. This is for qualitative, and for quantitative, I think because this is just like the new idea, a little bit new idea, you can maybe develop the measurements for this value co-creation in sustainability, whether mainly as what I know for this SG logic, maybe for primary data, maybe for questionnaire, we can develop the measurement, but also I think it's not possible. It is not impossible to also develop for the measurement for secondary data, like what you see from the data that talk about this co-creation something. I think still possible. And for practitioners, I think if you want to have the better quality of life, then the company should do together with their stakeholders to create this sustainable value. And then this is the last but not least, as what Professor Basuki mentioned before, actually in Universitas Airlangga, we have the Center for Environmental, Social, and Governance Study, because this center is established because the difficulties for us that want to conduct the study of CSR or ESG things, right? It's difficult for us to get the data. We need to find out one by one in their annual report. That's why this center is established to help those researchers in Indonesia to get easier data, especially that related with ESG data from Indonesian companies. So if you want to find out more about this, or now you currently do conduct research about this ESG or CSR, you can go in this website and see you have the quantitative data, text analytics also. And now here, if you go there, we have 7 days free trial, so you can get the data as you want during these 7 days. And then this is our website. And also this is our Instagram if you want to know more about this. Okay, I think that's all from me. Thank you. Maybe if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Anridho, for very interesting presentation. I think both of you speakers add the presentation with advertising, call for papers, and this one kind of. Okay, then before I check the Slido, because the question will be written in that Slido, I just want to give a very short comment. First of all, for Prof. Moerman from Lee, I'm very happy to see the first slide, I think, when you put the photo of Wollongong, it makes me happy and make me sad because it's very difficult to visit you there recently. Maybe in the future, we will visit there. My memory in there is very, very much. Okay. Okay, that's, I think Prof. Moerman already talking about the competing world, and then talking about the crisis and disasters, the climate change, etc., and sociology of worth, and then moral accountability, etc. I think it's very, very interesting. Maybe some of us haven't heard about this before. And then Dr. Nadia, Dr. Anridho, sorry, presenting about sustainability and value creation, and with SD logic. Frankly speaking, this is the first time I heard about SD logic, so I will have to try to ask from you more in the future. Okay. Okay, then I will check the question here from the Slido, because you have the question have to put in the Slido. Hang on. Okay, I will read the question here from Nazala Rizki. Nazala doesn't mention to whom this question will be addressed, but I will read the question is, what will be the role of accountant in sustainability, especially environmental? Does it only making report on activities carried out by the company or more? Please, want to ask to answer this question? Sorry, hello, can you hear me? Okay.
I'm on mute. I'm on mute.
Okay then.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think one of the areas of research that we do at accounting, and if you say picked up a journal called Critical Perspectives in Accounting, and maybe Accounting, Auditing and Accountability Journal, you'd find a lot of papers that not talk about what's reported, but often talk about what's not said. So they talk about the silences in reporting processes, and often those silences are damage to the environment, damage to health. They could be the way we treat animals, it could be the way we treat migrants, it could be the way we marginalise certain groups in certain situations. And I think that type of work has a lot of...
Excuse me, could you co-host just mute the participant other than the speakers?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So I think some of that sort of work, it's not about exposing what's being said, it's what's exposing what's not being said. And that can be a lead to, you know, change, and it can also alert people to things that are unsustainable, so to say.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. And then I think the second question is to address to Nadia. In your opinion, is it important for company to create value for its employees, and how? Since employees are also one of the stakeholders in the businesses.
Sure, you need to create the value for employees, because employees is the first line of the business. Then your business is there. I mean, because without your employee, you are not conducting the business, right? So therefore, creating the value for your employee is very important. I think before you can create the value for customer, you must create the value for employee first. Because if you treat your employees better, good, or your employee feels, okay, I'm willing to do anything for this company because they treat me good as a employee, as a human, or as human being well-being. So I think it's better for your company to have to create the value for employee first, because if your employee don't feel comfortable working in your company, I don't think they will have good performance in their work. So if your company want to be better performance, I think you should treat your employees better. I think that's my opinion.
Okay, thank you. That's a question from Cindy. Okay, the next question is anonymous, is also addressed to Ibu Nadia. What is the difference between value co-creation and value creation?
Okay, usually if we talk about value creation, mainly value creation is created by only one party. But if we talk about value co-creation, this value is co-created together. Co means not only one, but it has more than one parties or one actors to create this value. That's the difference. That's also the idea that comes from this SD logic. We need to do it together to create the value. That's why they said it. They say this value co-creation, not value creation. That's Prof. Basuki.
Okay, thanks. Okay, thanks. The next question from Halim Kusuma, addressed to Professor Moerman. It said, does the ISO 14091 or 14097 policy affect the financial statement or reports on company activities related to climate change? Okay, can you get the question, please?
Unfortunately, I don't research in that area of disclosures, so I couldn't really answer that question in any way that would be beneficial to that question.
Okay. So because Prof. Moerman doesn't work in this area, so
no.
Okay, so then okay, I will go through the next question. Hang on. This is from Maxina to Dr. Anridho. As you have said that SD logic is mainly used in the marketing context. In accounting, can give us a sample of how SD logic can be applied?
Okay. Maybe I want to clarify. SD logic, yeah, SD logic comes from marketing field, but it can be applied to different areas. That's what I mentioned before. That there are many different areas that has been that has used this SD logic to do research. For example, if in accounting, what we can do with SD logic, I think is about like if you want to study about the how maybe auditor, when they do audit, they conduct audit, how they can just to creating the value between the auditor and also the auditee, maybe, or maybe in more behavioral accounting. I think this SD logic can be used, or in more strategic management also can be used in this for SD logic, I think. Okay.
And the next question from Hartati to Prof. Moerman: how to apply the sustainability report to the hospital financial report? How to apply sustainability report to the hospital financial report?
So when you say hospital, do you mean like a medical center type hospital?
I guess so.
Okay. I just wasn't sure what I was understanding.
Yeah, because sometimes there's hospitality and hospital.
Yeah, I wasn't sure it's hospitality or hospital.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. This is interesting because if you look at, say, if we go to a sort of a simple sort of example of a framework, and I tend to like frameworks when I'm evaluating or reporting. So if you took something like the GRI, for example, those GRI aspects fit very nicely into any organisation, but they particularly fit well because there are things that are not necessarily, they're common to all organisations. You know, how do you treat your employees? And I think that's sort of Nadia's area. What do you do with your waste? What do you do in terms of waste reduction? What are you doing when you talk about emissions from, you know, the equipment that you have, you know, whether you have an incinerator to incinerate toxic waste. Yeah, I would think that applying, doing a sustainability report on a hospital is not unusual. And I don't know about the Indonesian context, but in the Australian context, we have a lot of privately owned hospitals. Yeah. So these are big for-profits. They report on the stock exchange. The same with aged care. So it's not just sort of medical hospitals, it's aged care as well. And so these companies would be, as just a matter of business, producing CSR reports. Yeah. And it's also about philanthropy. It's about what you do for society in terms of free healthcare, charitable works that you might do. So I possibly aren't answering your question in a way that you expect, but it's a very broad topic.
Okay, thank you. Okay, because we still have a lot of time, and then beside the Slido, there is a question that's written in the chat room. Okay, I will read this from Mr. Muhammad Sarjono Hatijaya. This question is addressed to both speakers. Basic sustainability of all activities is the cash availability after we paid all liabilities and pay the corporate taxes. What is your opinion?
Because I think it depends how you see the corporation. So I'm assuming here we're talking about corporations because we're talking about corporate taxes. So, I mean, some of us may look at it as, you know, we have this profit figure and that tells us efficiency. It tells us whether the company is a viable entity, whether it's a going, well, not so much a going concern because that's related to being able to pay your debts. But we're interested perhaps in terms of its ability, its operational effects. Others would say that the financial report, that profit figure is about dividends. And so what we're looking at is dividends to shareholders. We're looking at dividends to the government in terms of a tax. And there's this idea that we should be paying a social dividend as well. And so if you look at a corporation from that perspective, sustainability takes on a whole new meaning. It says that companies exist and they exist because the society will put up with pollution, will put up with workers perhaps not being as safe as they should be. But if companies are paying a social dividend to be sustainable, whether it's through philanthropy, giving or whatever, then yes, sustainability does incorporate more than just cash availability.
Okay, thank you. What say you, Anridho?
Yeah, I think I do agree with Professor Lee. You know, I think if this is the thinking of your company to do the sustainability, I don't think you achieve the real meaning of sustainability, because the sustainability is not what we conduct after we paying the tax, but what we can do with our money before any paying the tax. So your strategic thinking should be moved to, I mean, your sustainability thinking should be move away. I think not what we do after we pay the tax, but what we can do with our money to do this sustainability. So before we paying the tax, we should do something already, not waiting until the end of the day or the end of the year. I think I do agree with the same with Professor Lee. That's my opinion.
Okay, thanks. The second question is from Acep Komara. How to build the sustainability paradigm in university? I think both of you as academician, maybe any idea? This is a different type of, I think, different style of university from Indonesia and Australia. Maybe any comment from Professor Moerman first? How to build a sustainability paradigm in university?
That's interesting, because we actually have a university that is zero neutral, carbon neutral, or and they have some very, very interesting initiatives around designing water tables, and designing toilets that are compostable, solar power. They've taken a very strong view that a university can be environmentally sustainable.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's hard to do, especially in a country like Australia, where the sun shines a lot and we've got a lot of roofs that we can put solar panels on, and we can have grow trees and whatever. I think that idea of social sustainability is another question, and I don't know about in Indonesia, but there's been quite a lot of disruption to employment in the universities, a lot of it driven by the lack of international students that can come on shore. And we've lost a lot of our workforce, our casual workforce. Our jobs have changed. That's a little bit harder to measure. There's always this idea, if you can't measure it, we can't account for it. I think we've got to move away from that idea. And I think, as Nadia quite well put out, value is just not about monetary value. We value things in different ways, in different circumstances.
Okay. So I think, for talking about solar value, I think Indonesia's sun is much more dense in Australia's sun, because today is summer. Okay. Okay, maybe any comment, Nadia, about this question?
Okay, I think what especially our university has done for these sustainability things is that all of our activities is trying to be, we try to be related to the SDGs.
SDGs. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the first step that we can do to be more university sustainable, I think. So that's the first step. So everything that we need to do should be related with the SDGs. So,
yes.
And then after that, then we can move forward with other activities that are related with sustainability, I think. That's my opinion, Professor.
Okay, then. Next question was, this is not mentioned about address to whom, but the question is, sustainability is not viewed in a momentary time. So perhaps it has cash today, but sustainability means that it has enough resources to withstand risk even tomorrow. So what's the question? This is only comment.
I think it might have been a comment about the other question that I answered about the cash. This idea, which kind of works in with that sociology of worth, because the market is very short term, very cash driven, very price market. Whereas sustainability is often, it's a long-term horizon.
Long-term, that's right. Yeah.
So these are always, at some point in conflict. I mean, I think sort of the sustainability agenda that we have about viable businesses today and viable businesses tomorrow is about a compromise between that short-term and long-term. So.
Okay, let me check the Slido. Maybe there is another question in Slido. Okay. Oh, this one from Dr. Nurlaili Swarno. I think it's addressed to Professor Moerman. How the concept of sustainability could be applied in the core business of the company, not only a way to comply with regulatory pressure. how the concept of sustainability could be applied in the core business of the company, not only a way to comply with regulatory pressure.
I think with this question, it depends, once again, what you think of the corporation and that form, the business form.
Yeah.
Some would say, as long as we have a corporate entity, we could never embed in sustainability. It will only ever be a compliance issue. I do believe that leadership has a lot to do with driving sustainability. And I actually don't think regulatory compliance is a bad, I mean, if I take the sociology of worth, that civic sort of idea that regulation will protect us all at some point because it's meant to be sort of for the public interest. I think, regulation may be the driver rather than the corporate entity in terms of a compromise.
Okay, I think there is no other question. Hang on. This is a question from anonymous. Sustainability usually is connected to companies. Can sustainability be implemented on individuals too? That's a very simple question. Okay, both of you, maybe Dr. Anridho and Prof. Moerman will answer this question.
Yes, I think sustainability also can be applied to individual. I mean, if you are aware of those eco products or green products, I think that's how you can start thinking that you are doing things for you and your environment and the whole society. Triple bottom line. Planet, people, and yeah, I think it can be done to independent. I mean, maybe the concept is not as broad as in the company because we are individual. So, maybe the first step is that you can be aware with these climate change things or something. I think that's the first thing you can do for this sustainability. That's my comment, Professor.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Prof. Moerman, you have.
I was just going to say, just to even think, just in a market situation. I mean, individuals, it's a very individualistic way of perceiving the world. But it does say that individuals are the ones that impact. We impact on the market. We impact on what goods are bought and sold. If I look at the supermarket 10 years ago, and the supermarket today, the types of goods, the types of packaging we have are completely different. The individual definitely, and I suppose Nadia is a little bit more across the marketing side of it. Mm-hmm. But definitely those consumer choices do drive company choices. It may be slow, but it does happen.
Yeah, something like an environmental awareness is come from individual and companies as well. I think all that question. Hang on. I'll check in the chat room as well. Maybe there is a participant writing down there. Okay, thank you for Prof. Moerman and Nadia. Thank you for enthusiastic response. Regard. Okay, it's not question. Just say thank you. Okay, it's from
cannot be proved it's true.
I really agree with Prof. Lee. Comment on leadership play important role in the sustainability, especially on corporate sustainability. Okay, it's not question. This one. Okay.
Yeah, I think we have this idea that the world works by mathematical proof, and if numbers add up, then it's true. And in some sense, yes. And if I'm going to have a vaccine for COVID, I want to make sure that they've followed some sort of scientific rigor when they've tested it. However, in the social world, numbers are such a poor representation of our reality. And one of the things I liked about the sociology of worth, for example, is it says financial reports are important. And it's really not about whether it's mathematically true. I mean, we've got the assets equals liabilities and owner's equity. So it does have some idea of balance in it. And yes, we do know that they're just poor representations of economic reality. But so the sociology of worth you might have a story about what climate change means to you if you live in Solomon Islands, and what it's going to mean to your livelihood and what it's going to mean to your family. Or if you come from a worth that values a domestic, it might have implications for hereditary land, when you give your land to your sons or daughters and that carries on. And if that's not there because of sea level rise, that story that you're telling is equally as important as the balance sheet that tells you about the profits that somebody's making out of coal. So I'm probably not really answering that question, but I think sustainability has got to be more than the numbers. We've got to have more accounts to get that more balanced view.
Okay. Sorry. Next question is to both of you. From Muhammad Sarjono. Okay, as we know, the balance sheet and income statement cannot be proved its truth for mathematical approach. So the sustainability report from the accounting information view is useless. So we have to change the financial report, the sustainability report. What is your opinion?
I think I tried to answer that question just then. Yeah, I think it's all imperfect. Nothing's perfect, and that's why we need to get information from a range of sources. And I don't think anybody ever just relies on a financial report to make a decision. I think it's just one piece of information in a certain context. I don't see the AASB. I don't see IFRS. I don't see FASB going anywhere fast. People are making money out of sustainability reporting. I don't see that going away. So I think we're going to have what we have, and we've just got to look at other ways to bring in other information.
And from you, Nadia, is that a comment for this?
Yeah, because as I know, sustainability is not should cover both financial and non-financial things. So I think it's not useless for the account because both covers in sustainability.
That's right.
We cannot be sustainable without accounting or without any finance things, right? So it should cover both financial and non-financial.
Okay. Okay. Any other question here? I just want to check in the chat room first. I think this one from Farah Mary. Does sustainability practices can be applied in micro enterprise too? Maybe this is the, yeah. Okay. Both of you. Nadia first.
Can you repeat again? Sorry.
Does sustainability practices can be applied in micro enterprise?
Micro enterprise. You mean SMEs, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, I think maybe the scale will be different with the big enterprise. Right. I think still can be applied, but the scale up to where you do sustainability things is different with the big corporation. I think so.
Depend on the situational and the company as well. Okay.
Yes, that's right, Professor.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
And I
think in Australia, these micro enterprises, these small boutique, running out of your garage or your front room of in your house. Is that what you mean by a micro enterprise? Because I see it as something a little bit different. But they're the ones that actually are probably leading the sustainability charge in some respects, especially with COVID and a lot of people buying online. Yeah, they use sustainable products, they use sustainable packaging, and they use it as a way of saying, well, buy from us rather than the big corporations, because we can implement these small changes which have big effects. So I actually think there's a real opportunity there for practices in micro enterprise.
Okay, I think all questions has been answered by both speakers. Now the time is 4 o'clock here in Indonesia, and should be 8 o'clock in Australia.
And it's getting dark.
It's getting dark. Okay. Okay. On behalf of the Faculty of Economics and Business Universitas Airlangga, I just want to say thank you very much for coming, for joining in this session to Professor Lee Moerman. And especially for me, you bring a lot of memory of Wollongong because I
should
stayed
come back.
there. Yeah, hopefully 1990 to 1995. And please give my best regard to Mary Kaidonis. She was my friend. She was my teacher when I take my master, and then she was my friend when we take our doctoral degree, and also Bob William and Mary Day. Or
they're all retired now.
Oh, yeah, it's already retired now. The last visit, my visit there, I think Mary Kaidonis was head of department.
Yeah. No, she retired about 2 years ago. So,
oh, then, so just give me my best regard for her. Thank you very much. And thank you for Nadia for this session. A lot of things that we have to learn from both of you. Okay. And then I will give it back to Aubrey. Aubrey, is there any something that we have to give to both speakers?
Yes, thank you, Professor Basuki, for leading the presentation. And I would like to say thank you to Professor Lee Moerman and Mrs. Nadia for the amazing presentation. But before we continue, we would like to thank Professor Lee Moerman and Mrs. Nadia Anridho, PhD, by handing the certificate of speaker and take a picture, of course. Okay, Professor Basuki may help with handing the certificate.
Okay, this to Lee Moerman. This is the certificate of from this activity. Hopefully that you will receive this, and thank you very much. And the next to Dr. Anridho. Okay. So Nadia, Anridho, as speakers, this is on behalf of the committee. I'll give you this certificate for you.
Thank you,
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to take a picture. Let me help with the count. On the count of 3, the crew may take the picture. 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, thank you so much, Professor Lee and Mrs. Nadia.
Thank you, Aubrey. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Okay, now we will move into the next session. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a break for 30 minutes, and then we're going to do the second door prize draw with a prize of an iPad mini Series 6. So don't leave this Zoom meeting, and we'll be right back. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Lee. Good night.
Bye.
I hope I will visit you there someday in the future.
In the future, okay.
Okay, then. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Nadia. Thank you, Sejak awal bermula, kami punya misi untuk terus maju. Kami terus memberikan layanan dan perhatian dengan hati. Kami berusaha untuk terus berbenah dengan memberikan pengalaman terbaik untuk Anda, melayani tanpa henti dengan penuh kasih. Dan kami berjanji takkan henti melayani. Hari ini, Surabaya terus tumbuh menjadi lebih besar dan lebih baik. Sebuah kota metropolis yang dinamis, masyarakat kosmopolitan, dan kota hijau masa depan. Rumah sakit PHC dibangun dari nilai-nilai yang membentuknya. Nilai-nilai saling menghargai, memberikan kenyamanan, dan menawarkan keadilan. Sejak awal, rumah sakit dibangun dengan konstruksi dan desain operasional yang dipusatkan untuk menciptakan tujuan utama. Tujuan untuk memberikan kenyamanan bersama dengan kesehatan yang baik, peduli pada nilai-nilai. Semuanya dirancang untuk kenyamanan pasien. Rumah sakit PHC juga memiliki koleksi karya lukis kontemporer yang ditampilkan di seluruh kamar didesain dengan pendekatan yang mementingkan kelancaran sirkulasi agar kualitas hidup lebih baik. Rumah sakit juga menyediakan pengalaman pelayanan yang baru bagi pasien dan keluarga sebelum dan setelah dirawat. Kami percaya pelayanan terbaik kami hanya untuk Anda.
Ladies and gentlemen, on 15 minutes, we will start the second door prize draw with a prize of an iPad mini Series 6.
Halo Bu Titi, Mirdawati. Kaget deh. Ibu anak partisipasi ya.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Finally, the second door prize draw with a prize of an iPad mini Series 6 is arrived. But not only that, there's an additional prize, which is free GRI course with a value of 5 million rupiah. So now we already have names of the participants who have registered via the Google form. So everyone make a wish that the draw will be your name. Okay, maybe the crew can help to share the screen. Okay, so we're going to pick a random name from this apps. Okay, let me count. On the count of 3, the crew may start the picker. Okay, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, let's see who will get. Okay, congratulations to Priska Lim that will get the iPad mini Series 6. And the next one, we will pick the winner of free GRI course with a value of 5 million rupiah. Okay, I'm sorry. Is Priska Lim here? Hello? Priska Lim? Unfortunately. Okay, hello?
Priska Lim.
Yeah, skip.
Okay. Unfortunately, Priska Lim is not here, so we are going to pick another name.
Yes.
Okay, the crew may help to pick another random name.
Okay.
Okay. Priska Lim is not here. Excuse me. The crew
Okay,
can
start
help to
again.
pick another name. Okay, let's pick another name. 1, 2, and 3. Let's pick another name. Okay. We'll get. Congratulations, Jessica Bono. Is Jessica Bono here?
Yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you.
Yes, so I would let Professor Eko to give as a symbolic, give it the iPad Series 6. Hello, Professor Eko.
Where is she? Jessica Bono. Aubrey.
Yes.
This picture.
Oh,
Her picture. Jessica
okay.
Bono.
It's already been pinned by our group. Okay. Hello, Professor Eko.
I think it's gone.
Okay.
Okay, yes, please.
Oh,
Okay,
he's still here.
Professor Eko.
Yeah, I'm here.
I would like to invite you, Professor Eko, as the chairman of ICSP to symbolically hand over the prize to the winner. Jessica.
Aubrey. Sorry. Where
Hello.
Yeah, congratulations, Jessica.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you
Yeah,
for the door
the
prize.
best. Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah, already done.
congratulations once again, Jessica. And now we will pick the winner for the second prize, which is the free GRI course with a value of 5 million rupiahs. Okay, now we will pick a random name on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3, start.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Go.
Congratulations, Rizka Yulistia Wardani. Rizka, are you here? Hello? Rizka Yulistia Wardani. Okay. Once again. Rizka Yulistia Wardani. Okay. Unfortunately, there's no Rizka in this room, so we're going to pick another name. Okay, the crew may help to pick another name. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Let's pick another name.
Start.
Start.
1, 2, 3, 4, until 10.
Okay. Congratulations, May Vita Nur Anitza. Are you here? May? Okay.
It's not here. Now November here.
Okay. May Vita, are you here? I'm going to call out your name one more time. May Vita Nur Anitza.
Me.
Okay. Okay. Unfortunately, May Vita also not in this room, so we're going to pick another name. The crew can help to pick another name. Maybe Bu Dian want to help with the count, Bu?
Okay. Okay, start. 1. Oh, no. Pick another name. Okay, start. Start. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Congratulations, Agnes Aurora Yellow.
I'm here.
Okay. Hello, Agnes. Are you here?
Hello.
Okay. Can you please turn on your camera?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I turn on my camera. Wait, please wait a moment.
Okay.
Hello.
Congratulations, Agnes, for winning the prize.
Oh yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity. Okay, thank you.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
Professor Eko.
Yes, yes, I'm handed it.
Hand over the prize to the winner.
Okay. Agnes Aurora, congratulations.
Agnes.
Yeah, for the lucky draw.
Yeah,
will
thank you
get,
so much, sir.
free-
And Nadia, thank you.
Workshop, right, at NCSR. Thank you, Audrey.
Yes, Professor Eko, thank you so much.
You are lucky, Agnes.
Yes. So lucky. I was hoping my name to pop out, Mr. Basuki. Okay, so this free GRE course with a value of 5 million rupiahs is sponsored by Economic and Business Faculty of Universitas Airlangga. And the two iPad mini series that already been random picked is sponsored by NCSR and ICSP. Okay, it was fun. to do the door prize session. But ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our conference. And now I would like to invite Mr. Iman to announce the best paper achiever and hand over the certificate.
Okay, thank you, Aubrey. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, it's my honor to announce the Best Paper Award for the International Conference on Sustainability, or the 6th Sustainability Practitioner Conference. Yeah, there are three awardee for this Best Paper Award. All of them will get a 50% discount for the GRI training. Yeah, and each of them will also receive the financial award. Let's get started for the number 3 for the third award. The title is Product Innovation, Firm Performance, and Moderating Role of Technology Capabilities. It's Professor Dian Agustia from Airlangga University, Sandy Dwi Haryanto, Putu Nidya Midiantari, and Yani Permatasari. Congratulations for Prof. Dian, Sandy, Putu, and Yani.
Thank you, Pak Iman. Thank you.
And for the second one, the title is Women on Board and Analyst Forecast Accuracy, Exploring the Moderation Effect of the Strengths of Auditing and Reporting Standard. It's written by Associate Professor Wan Adibah Wan Ismail from University Teknologi Mara, Associate Professor Khairul Anwar Kamarudin from University of Wollongong, Dubai, Dr. Amalia M. Arif from University of Malaysia, Terengganu, and Dr. Professor Wan Nurdin Wan Hussein from University Utara Malaysia. Anyone here? The Dr. Khairul? Okay. And for best paper 1 goes to the paper entitled Sustainability Awareness of Banking Institution in Indonesia, a Proposed Corporate Sustainability Management Model. It's written by Indriyanita Anis from Trisakti University, Linda Watigani from Universitas Indonesia, Ansela Hermawan from Universitas Indonesia, Desi Adariani from Universitas Indonesia, and Professor Hasan Fauzi from Universitas 11 Maret. Yeah, congratulations for all awardee for the best paper, and the committee, I believe, will contact you soon for the administration process. Yeah, once again, congratulations for the award, and I'm passing back to the Aubrey. Thank you, Aubrey.
Thank you, Mr. Iman. Now we will hear a closing remarks from Dr. Wiwit Supratiwi, the Chairman of Organizing Committee.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. The International Conference on Sustainability will be closing soon. On behalf of the Faculty of Economics and Business, University of Airlangga, especially Department of Accountancy, I would like to express my deepest gratitude for the opportunity given by Institute of Certified Sustainability Practitioner and National Center for Sustainability Reporting to organize the 6th Sustainability Practitioner Conference. I would also like to take this opportunity to express my highest respect to all participants, such as practitioners, academicians, students, and all parties who support the success of this international conference. Today, we all have gained insight related to sustainability from keynote speech, speakers, and paper presentation and discussion. As the conference ends, I will believe we all have the same feeling that people including us here, are constantly exploring sustainability in business, practice, education, and research. I believe that we all always support the sustainable development goals through our respective profession. Finally, I would like to thank to Dr. Ali Darwin, Professor Eko Ganis, Professor Dian Agustia, and also the committee either from the Faculty of Economics and Business or ICSP and NCSR for organizing this event and ensuring it ran so smoothly. Congratulations also to participants who were announced as best papers and the winner of Lucky Draw. And especially there were additional prize for taking course of GRI. I think it's very, very good prize. Ladies and gentlemen, you have participated actively, so I thank you again for your participation and wish you all stay safe, healthy, and happy always. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Aubrey.
Thank you, Dr. Wiwi, for the closing remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, before we end the conference, it's not going to be complete without taking pictures together. So I would like to ask all of you to turn on your camera. On the count of 3, the crew may take the picture. Okay, let me help with the count. 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, thank you so much. Also, I want to kindly remind all of the audience to fill in the attendance form that already been given by our crew. We would like to thank all of our sponsors today, Economic and Business Faculty of Universitas Airlangga, NCSR, ICSP, Lembaga Penjamin Simpanan, PHC Hospital Surabaya, Petrokimia Gresik, dan Bank Mandiri, and Mandiri Bank. Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, now we have come to the end of the conference. I would like to apologize for any misspelling and errors made, and thank you for your attention. We are dearly hoping to see you again on our next event. Stay healthy and stay safe. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Stay safe, stay healthy.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bunda.
Bye,
Selalu
tomorrow.
Bunda
Stay
Dia.
safe, stay healthy.
Sehat-sehat, Bunda. Ya.
Ya, sehat selalu. Terima kasih kehadirannya.
Terima kasih semua rekan-rekan. Sama-sama,
Terima
Bunda.
kasih. Terima kasih. Izin
Sehat-sehat,
live.
Ibu.
Sehat selalu. Izin live, J. Assalamualaikum.
Salam.
Terima kasih.
Waalaikumsalam.
Ibu Dian, sehat selalu. Jadi ini sudah